and welcome to lesson 1 of week 8. In this lesson, we're going to look at how to set up your development environment for Python. My name is Mildred. For us to start using Python, we have to check if Python is already installed on our system, and if not, we want to install Python. So for Windows users, head over to Windows PowerShell and type Python version like this. So Python with 2- version. If that doesn't work, you type Python 3 version. And then if you have Python installed, you will see the Python and the version. If you do not have Python installed, then you want to head over to python.org, then select downloads and install Python version for your operating system. Always make sure you install the highest version you find at that time. Once done with your Python installation, you want to come back to try the Python 3 version again to see if it is now installed and you can find the version. Starting from Python 3.5, I think, pip, which is a package manager for Python, is installed automatically with Python installation. You want to try to look at pip version. If that doesn't work, you want to try pip 3 version like this. So for the version, you put the -- flag there to get it. And when you have that, you will have the version installed. Sometimes the version of pip will be lower than the current version, and for you to update that, you want to type pip install and then you use the flag upgrade pip. Now if pip install upgrade pip doesn't work, you want to use pip 3 install upgrade pip. If that also doesn't work, you want to try using python.exe like this, pip install upgrade pip. Now if this doesn't work and you try this, it will give you a suggestion of what you're supposed to be typing in. Now it's difficult to have just one command that works across systems or across installations, so these are dependent on your system, on the version of Python you have. And so for my system, it is going to be pip 3 install upgrade pip. And if this is the latest version, it tells me that requirement already satisfied. So this is how you set up your development environment. As we go deeper and as we start building softwares, we'll want to start creating virtual environments. Well, we are not going to do that now, but we are going to do that just before we start installing extra packages on our system. So we use Python to create the server side of web development projects. We can use Python for software development. We can use it for scripting, for mathematics, for scientific data analysis, and even non-scientific data analysis. When you create a Python file, the extension is .py. So I'll come here and I'll try to create a file. So I have my text editor opened and I'll create a new file, and I'm going to name this file .py. You must use the .py extension, and I'll save it in my folder here. So when I expand my folder, I have hello.py. So I just want to write a simple statement. Now when this file is run, I want to print hello world. Then I'll save this file. We will head back to our command line. If you want to type this code directly in the command line, you just have to type Python or Python 3, as the case may be, and it's going to give you a shell where you can type Python codes. So I can type this here, print hello world, and then when I run this, it prints hello world. I want to exit out of the shell, I use exit. So I'm just showing you the different ways you can use Python on your system, but this is not going to be the method that we are going to use, but you need to know that they exist and how to use it before you move advanced. Now if we want to run a Python file like the hello.py I just created in the cost2 folder, I want to first of all check what my present working directory is, and I want to navigate to that location where this file is located, which is on my desktop and in the cost2 folder. So I'm going to do this by going to change directory, desktop /cost2. And then I'm now in the directory because I have course 2 written here. Now I'm going to try to run the hello.py file that I created. And if you want to run this file from the command line, you will type Python or Python 3 and then the name of the file, hello.py. So make sure you are in the directory where the file belongs. Now I'm going to leave lessons for week 3 of course 1 and also of week 14 of course 1 for you to understand how to look at your file directories and also understand how to use the command line. And so when I run this, I have the hello world printed here on the command line. So these are the ways we can use Python from the command line, but we are not going to be doing this. We are going to be using an IDE. I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code. There are several very good IDEs like PyCharm. PyCharm is another recommended one. I'll be using Visual Studio Code just because that is what is used in course 1, and I just want students to be able to continue forward. But feel free to use PyCharm. Head over to jetbrains.com to download PyCharm Community Edition. Let's see that, jetbrains.com. I'll just search PyCharm. And so we have PyCharm. We don't want to download the professional edition because we have to pay. You want to look for the community edition that is free, and then you want to download the community edition of PyCharm. So let's look at that. Click on download, and now this time you're going to select community here. If you want a paid version, you can go to the professional, but the free version community is just enough for what we're doing. If you do not want PyCharm, we'll go to Visual Studio Code. So let's say Visual Studio Code, and then you look at the Visual Studio Code for your operating system. Once done downloading Visual Studio Code, you want to set that up. And for the purpose of people using different editors, I'm going to leave you to read the documentations of the different IDEs and configure it yourself. So for Visual Studio Code, you want to go to Get Started with VS Code in Python to set up your IDE after you've downloaded it. So it's just about the appearance that you need to put there. So I will leave that to you to get that done. So now that we understand how to install Python, how to use Python from the command line, from a text file, and also from an IDE, we can now head over to opening our IDE. So I'm going to open my Visual Studio Code. This is my setup. This is how I want my appearance. You can make your appearance whichever way you want. You can have a black background. You can set it up as much as you want. Follow the instructions on the Visual Studio Code community blogs online. I want to encourage you to research, to learn how to do things by reading documentation. So I'm not going to be doing that in this lesson. The same thing for PyCharm users. You want to also look at the community recommendations on how to set that up after installation, and you do this various setup and play around with it to know where different things are or how to perform different functions. One of the main things we're going to be doing later on is to want to go to the marketplace or the extensions and install things, but we're not going to be installing any extensions on this for now, but there are several extensions we will need after we go through the basics of Python. So I'm going to go back to the file icon above there, and I want to open folder, and I want this folder from my desktop, and what I want is the course2 folder. So you create a folder called course2 or whatever name you want in any directory you want, and then you want to select the folder there once you launch Visual Studio Code. So now I have the hello.py here in the course2 folder that I created using Atom. I can click on the run button here to run this, and the terminal opens where it is run hello.py, and it prints out what I asked it to print out, hello world. For you to get to terminal, you can just select terminal up here and create new terminal. So let's say I close this and you want a terminal to start working with, you create new terminal. So by the time you have Visual Studio Code or PyCharm, you actually don't need to use your Windows PowerShell or terminal from your system, but you can use a terminal that these IDEs provide, and it works just fine. You can perform any functions through this terminal and it will also work just fine. So this is where we end this lesson. In the next lesson, we're going to be looking at Python syntax and comments and how we are going to use Python going forward. Thank you and see you in the next lesson.